球季赛让 IG 学习到了许多。对于所有参与其中的年轻选手而言，这样的经验和成长都无比宝贵。
能和 LPL 的队伍并肩作战，一起夺冠，是一次美妙的经历。希望在不久之后的世界舞台上，我们也能通力合作，取得更高的荣誉。
虽然马上又要成为赛场上的对手了，我还是想说，和你们合作真是太愉快了。
胜利过后，狂欢过后，战斗还要照常继续。团结一心的 LPL 是无坚不摧的力量，让我们一起变强，一起期待秋天的到来。这应该是最有希望的一年。
Well, with the first round of inter-conference matches done and Rift Rivals victorious as well as out of the way, the LPL returns with cross-conference, where these Titans, who were once allies moving into Rift Rivals, now have to do battle against one another. The East and West, the kings of each coast. This is where the points really matter the most, and where playoff runs can start, stop, or completely be derailed. It's where it's time for you to try and start something before you go back into inter-conference once again and play for all the marbles here in the LPL. We're about to kickstart cross-conference with 2 matches today, and we'll get into those matches shortly. I'm Matthew Stewart. Joining me on the desk is going to be Zach Rusty Pie, and you're returning from Rift Rivals as well. You went over to Oceania for that Rift Rivals.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to work on the LPL one, but no matter. I got to go home to Australia, have a quick holiday, working holiday at that. But the OPL won, so it's not just the LPL that were victorious. I would say it was us two, Fish.
That's right.
Being former OPL casters and players, we won twice that week.
That's right. The OPL won, and we had the LPL winning as well, which was fantastic to see. And the LPL did well at Rift Rivals as well, taking the LCK all the way to Game 5 in the final best-of-5 series.
And the big takeaway that I have from that, you saw it as well, they're now going to be enemies, but they were friends for a time. The entire league of the LPL proves its worth. It says it's not just RNG on the top of the table, but a 4-man squad. 4 teams get to go, and all 4 come out victorious in the end. IG, EDG, they win the group stage, and the rest of the squads carry through the playoffs finals.
Able to help them with that victory there, but with Rift Rivals out of the way, the team's about to play in the LPL once again. So let's take a look at the standings in the LPL, where we left off after the first round of intra-conference play. We had Rogue Warriors and EDG sitting at the top of their conference, with RNG, IG, and JD, every single one of these teams at 5-1.
Yeah, a lot of teams tied at 5-1. Now, a big takeaway from this is no team is undefeated, and no team is without a win. So you mentioned the top of the table. You look towards the bottom, there are 3 teams tied for 1 and 5. BG, BLG, and LGD that have a great opportunity through cross-conference to start to climb those ranks.
They certainly do. One of those teams will be playing today. It's going to be BLG taking on TOB in the first set of today live from Shanghai, followed by RNG taking on OMG in the second set from Beijing.
And we don't really know what to expect from our second set to be seen from Beijing. Of course, OMG playing away from their own home arena in Chengdu, but they're against an Uzi-less RNG.
Certainly are. We'll get into more of that later on. But first, let's take a look at the split format for the LPL. It starts with 1 round of intra-conference play from week 1 to 3, which we've already seen, followed by 4 weeks of cross-conference, which kickstarts today. And to round it all off, it will go into intra-conference once again to decide who will be the 4 playoff teams from both sides of the bracket.
And if you don't know the LPL at all, the TLDR is that you play your own conference twice, the enemy conference once. This is the first round of playing against that other conference, and there are some heavy hitters that we get to see play against each other on the Rift. RNG against IG is always a big one, but then you've got EDG, Rogue Warriors, the Rift Rivals competitors, all 5-1, play against each other now.
That's right, we're going to see lots of those matches being played throughout cross-conference, even going to be seeing RNG taking on EDG later on the week. RNG against Rogue Warriors, and Victor's game against EDG, and Victor's game against Rogue Warriors to finish cross-conference. And we even have JDG, Jindong Gaming, playing in amongst it, another team that is currently 5-1 at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. I would strongly advise you watch JD's games. They're exciting to watch, but these are the marquee matchups. These are the ones that if you don't watch the LPL, you should be here for these games at least, and tell your friends that they're on, all right? It's going to be on Sundays and Saturdays, respectively. The first 2, week 4 and 5, be on Sunday, set 3, week 6 and 7, Saturday, set 3. They're big matches, don't miss them.
Big matches, all 5-1. They have to, or some of these teams have to drop some points eventually during cross-conference, and there were all 4 of our Rift Rivals representatives as well. Cross-conference is a good time for them to separate themselves from the rest of the people tied in their conference, as well as for teams to pick up points which they might not necessarily pick up during regular conference play.
Yeah, the exciting thing about cross-conference and why it's so cool to watch is that every win is worth a point. There is no redemption round for the person who lost that. There is no chance to come back if you do lose as well. So miracle runs can happen. We have seen it from the likes of Dan Gaming back in 2017 spring, where they didn't have a single win. They come in across conference, they win everything, they upset all of the top teams, and suddenly we're wondering where they really are on the ladder. Are they in contention for the top? And, you know, you look at this split, I feel like possibilities are always going to be there. My dark horse is OMG to pick up some quiet victories here. I don't think it'll rocket them to the top, but they are a side that I'm looking towards, whereas teams like BLG and WE need the victories. It's not that they're a dark horse, it's that if they don't get it, no chance at Worlds.
WE still sitting at 1-5. We'll see BLG play in the first match of today. They're also sitting at 1-5, who had a fantastic start to the split, but have not been able to perform throughout the first 3 weeks of the LPL. But I like that you're talking about these teams. It's their chance to move in towards playoff contention, and there are a couple of teams that are still sitting as the gatekeepers at the moment, with teams like Snake as well as TOP sitting at 3-3, separating themselves from the 5-1 head of the pack, as well as Suning, 3-3 in their own conference at 4th place right now.
Yeah, we have some pretty defined separation between where all of these teams really are on the standings. Now, TOP, we will be seeing them play today, have had a much better performance than they have in other splits. So that's a place that you can definitely be looking towards. And alongside them, Suning Gaming being 3-3 is a positive for Suning that they can continue forwards, as they seem to be in a standalone position in 4th. And remember, top 4 is what counts to get into playoffs. But for a lot of these teams, getting higher than top 4 is better because you get buys and higher seedings in that playoffs run.
We'll have to see which teams will be able to take those as we exit cross-conference. So that's where it really starts to look like who will be the top contenders in the LPL. But to start cross-conference, I liked what you talked about, especially with OMG moving into cross-conference. A big time for them to try and pick up points. And it's a good time for the teams who are adapting to not only the current meta, but also bringing in new players, new roster, new support stuff, like we see from OMG bringing in P as the AD carry. Great time for them to try and flesh things out and work better as a cohesive unit.
Yeah, they seem to have found the player that OMG have desperately needed, and a big part of this as well is not just that cohesion, but their adaptations to the meta. They've now had time. Every team that wasn't competing at Rift Rivals has had an opportunity to scrim, to watch, to learn, and to grow as a team. So there are expectations that we can't effectively measure until we see them play on have they grown, how much have they grown, what do they look like, and what are they going to be improving and moving forwards. Because this is free time. This was practice time to just become better.
And there's even teams from Rift Rivals that be able to benefit from Rift Rivals itself. I mean, 4 of our LPL teams got to go and play against teams from the LMS as well as the LCK, play against different scrim partners for a change on a competitive stage, and we even saw different strategies and tactics being shown during Rift Rivals itself, especially with Smite mid Talon coming out from the LMS region.
Yeah, so there's a couple of champions that Smite will be seen on. I liked the Talon pick, and I like that you mentioned the Talon. It has very strong control of the lane by getting level 2 first from the Raptor camp. So then I got to thinking, you know, what else can actually do that role? We've seen Aatrox. Febiven has played Echo, so these are 2 champions that you have to consider. Aatrox, of course, should be banned. And then there's the Vedius pick of the Nocturne, who I think is honestly very strong. It has been seen a little bit, not in the competitive scene, however. I think that Nocturne mid is now a potentially top pick.
Oh no, I can't wait to see what Vedius's Twitter account looks like after he hears
Well,
this from
Vedius
the
was actually
broadcast.
upset. He said, "Where's my Ignite?" Well,
Where's his Ignite?
Yeah.
That's the thing that he was worried about, that Nocturne was not... I'm upset with Vedius now. I hope that he never actually sees this clip, but we'll see how the meta is going to be changing, because a lot of teams have been trying to adjust to the meta, and it's actually hurt quite a few teams in the LPL. Even with RNG playing later today, they won't be starting with Uzi as their AD carry like they did during Rift Rivals. Unfortunately, he has a reoccurring shoulder injury that he's trying to treat right now. And we thought, okay, great, fantastic time for Abel to come in as the AD carry for RNG. He looked good during Demaster Cup.
He did.
He's looked good whenever he's come in for the squad. He's not starting either. So what's going on with RNG?
Yeah, RNG have got a top laner starting in the AD carry position. That's something that I'm sure we'll get into in the second set today as well. They'll be playing, so make sure you're around for that one. But you're right, full Fnatic. And I think something a little bit more even fundamental than that is that RNG were the ones who started the Ashe Tahm Kench. You know, they were the ones trying to push the agenda of we're going to play AD carries in the bottom lane, and it is going to work. And then teams like OMG, who have adopted that, have decided that it is the best, and they've started to play it. Now, we're the only region that really has committed ourselves to exactly that style, but even RNG are bucking the trend right now. Uzi, of course, injured. Top lane is coming into the AD carry role. I am curious to see how it goes. I know that mages have a higher success rate even through Rift Rivals, a higher win rate than any other lane had, but there is still success in the AD carry position, so there's possibilities there that we can't really know for certain.
But it is starting to be a little bit more defined when it comes to the current meta, because when we started on this new patch after the mid-season invitationals, we saw bruisers being thrown into the bottom lane. I mean, Oceania was experimenting with Ornn as the main carry in the bottom lane. It was tanks in the bottom lane. We couldn't quite pinpoint how the meta was going to shape up. Even teams like Snake throwing in 2 supports into their roster and gold funneling 100% of the matches they have with those 2 players. It's interesting to see how it's going to shape up, and now after Rift Rivals across the world, it's kind of getting a more solid meta, so to speak.
Yeah, the thing with League of Legends is, regardless of role, it's always cyclical in the way that the meta will work, and because it started with AD carries down there, and people thought that they were strong enough to beat them without it, we saw tanks, and then we saw bruisers, because both of those things can take down an AD carry, and then we saw mages to go against the bruisers to try and beat them, and then we saw a mage that can beat the other mage, so we've gone from like AD carries to Ornn, to Vladimir, to Ryze and Swain into the Vladimir, and now I feel like that's where it's really cemented itself, because nothing can comprehensively beat the Swain, which is where we have really wound up.
Well, all we have to do now is nerf Swain, and we have rock, paper, scissors in the bottom lane. No need to play League of Legends anymore. It's just this, and you're good to go. But let's actually take a look at week 3 of the LPL, because although we took a break during Rift Rivals, it's now week 4, and we can take a look at who were the best performing members from the LPL where we left off.
Yeah, certainly. So a couple of people on your screen. The one that I would be looking at is the support position, namely of Mink. But of course, Ray will be where we start on the top side of the map. Now, Ray did have a strong week. He's someone with a lot of potential, and I know you've got a bit more insight into Rift Rivals performances from him, because he felt a little bit up and down to me.
Yeah, it definitely was up and down, especially during the group stages itself, but had a solid appearance there. Casa was a member that we didn't see too much of during Rift Rivals. It was MLXG playing for majority of the tournament, but he performed well during week number 3.
Yeah, MLXG and Zatai with the Rift Rivals staples, of course, getting a title for themselves, but Casa did have a strong week 3 for himself, a very respectable one, whereas through the mid lane, someone who was a very strong performer that you're not actually even going to get to see this week.
No,
potentially.
Not going to be starting for TOP potentially. Goon was a strong standout for TOP. I already mentioned that they're currently 3-3 in the LPL, and cross-conference is their time to shine and solidify themselves as a playoff team in the LPL.
And naturally, where there is Zoe, there will still be Goong having a very good performance, as Loken in the AD carry role is going to be the best of the Rift there, and you can see the stats. It doesn't lie for these players. They have been playing out of their minds. Loken on those Kaiser, he loves it.
And remember that we talked about the top 4 teams in the LPL at the moment, the teams that represented the LPL Rift Rivals. JD is currently at number 5. They were 5-1 at the moment, getting a few upsets and look like a strong team to contest for one of those top 4 spots.
Yeah, and Loken's certainly a rock in the AD carry position. He's going to be very solid for them for the most part. And the other solid member here, rounding out the support role, Ming, has been nothing if not solid for the entirety of his career.
Yes.
And to see him in the best of the Rift shows that, again, he has had the capabilities to go above and beyond. And a lot of the casters now saying he's challenging Mako for that top dog spot on best support in the league, which generally means best in the world.
Suddenly you have best support in the league as well as best player in the world of Uzi in the same roster. When Uzi does return, we hope that he has a speedy recovery for RNG. We'll see their match later on today in Beijing, but for now, let's move to the first match of today that's live here from Shanghai. TOP taking on BLG.
Yeah, BLG 1-5 in the standings, tied for last place. TOP 3-3, dead middle of the standings as well. They're in the playoff position, but it's going to take some extra efforts to retain that. You would have to imagine that BLG coming into this particular set are nothing if not hungry. They need these wins desperately.
Especially after the roller coaster performance it's been from them. But let's first take a look at the lineups. Lies, XX, Korn, Cho, as well as Cat will be TOP's lineup.
No Gung, no Karin, no Marin. It's a full Chinese roster for TOP this time around. Full Chinese roster is always curious. Korn has played once and it wasn't very good, so we'll have to see.
Have to see how TOP does. They're up against BLG, with Amazing J, Chieftain, Mole, as well as Junjiao and Rogue.
And BLG, Jinjiao has been the solid member of this team, but he's been playing ADs and he takes so long to ramp up that the rest of the BLG just haven't the rest of the roster rather, just haven't really been able to get him to that point, and that's something that we're going to have to explore here for BLG. Can they have an early game? If you're a late game team fighting team that we always knew and we always loved for that fact, can you actually change your style and change your identity like Amazing J can do in cosplay?
Seems to be what BLG have been trying to do, even experimenting with Mianhua as well as Athena as their two other, as the other mid laner as well as jungler, subbing in for most of the matches BLG have played. But they've been dropping BLG from finalists at the Master Cup to looking good at the start of the split, even in the matches they lost, and now just not looking great at all.
Yeah, for me, I'm looking at BLG, I'm looking at Chieftain and Mole, and I'm really hoping that they get it together and they show up to play in this set, because this should be their free win.
It should be, but TOP are hungry for those victories as well to solidify themselves as a top 4 team. But let's send it over to our casters to kickstart Cross Conference.
想要在这里生存下去，必须倾尽所有。
And that's exactly what BLG are looking to do. They need to take some wins because people are asking, what happened to BLG? This is a team that went to Demacia Cup. This was a team that went to Worlds back in the day as Aime, and now they're at 1-5. Welcome, I'm Dom. We've got Clement here with us, and hopefully we'll get some answers by the end of this set.
Yeah, and you really have to question who is the free win at this point, because TOP had a very competitive series versus EDG, while BLG, on the other hand, has dropped 5 straight series in a row. This is not the same Chieftain and Mole that we saw back at the end of spring, where they came up and they had the highest win rate of the entire league. This team right now is in tatters. They really haven't gelled to a single style. They've tried a bit of funneling, they've tried a bit of mages in the bot lane, but nothing really seems to have worked for them so far.
Well, they did have about a week or so to reset during Rift Rivals and get a chance to watch all of the other teams, of course, practice on that 8.13b patch, which has got all of the hot fixes now. So hopefully this could be a chance for all of our lower tier teams in the LPL to reset and recover, to try to chase down a playoff spot. Because, Clement, we're already in week 4. It feels like hardly any time has passed, but there's only 2/3 of the split left.
Yeah, and it has to be great news for TOP now that they're in the Western Conference, historically known as the weaker side, to have a chance in their first year of franchise to reach that playoff stage. This is going to be massive if they actually do it.
We'll absolutely see if they can, though their opponents TOP will be trying their hardest to prevent that. This is a team that went with only 3 series wins last split, and now they've already got 3 series wins coming into cross-conference. It seems like TOP have already done their growth and learning. But on your screen, you'll notice that's not Marin for TOP, that's not Goong in the mid lane who just took Best of the Rift. It's Korn popping up on a first pick Zoe.
Important to notice, just like Rusty said, they're running with a full Chinese roster, better for communication, better for your fan base. And Korn, we really haven't seen much of his player pool so far. Only champion we've seen him on has been the Yasuo so far. So the Zoe is going to be a bit of a surprise, and the Morgana, very interestingly, is the big contest pick, because Road is his #1 champion for him, and for Chocho, it also has been his #1 champion in the bot lane.
It's been seeing a lot of success for both of these sides, but with Morgana now locked in for BLG, that gives them a bit of flexibility in how they want to utilize that black shield, that very powerful spell shield that stays for so long. And now we're also seeing a Nautilus lock in for BLG. As Amazing J, with a smile and a chuckle, might he get the chance to return towards that old comfort pick? Or is that going to be BLG looking towards a funnel style?
I think BLG should go for funnel. This has been their best strategy so far. If they run a kill lane with someone that isn't Jinzhao in the bot lane, I think they can do fine. And if you look at the draft so far, I think Amazing J has been really tunneling on the Mundo pick. He really hasn't had any wins on a champion that uses Conquerors in the top lane.
What? That's a Xerath locked in here for... I have no idea where that's going to go. That's just so exciting. Okay, looks like that was a bit of a misclick as we back out of this one. Okay. So let's go ahead and get back to that funnel strategy for BLG, as we'll go ahead and get that champ select remade as quickly as possible. Yes, the funnel strategy for BLG, it has been what has given them success. It seems as though BLG has had a little bit more difficulty adopting to the wild, zany fun of the 8.11 and 8.13 meta.
Yeah, the hard truth is that Jin Zhao is simply not a mage player. He cannot play the Swain, he can't really play the Vladimir, but he's also having a really hard time in the bot lane as a traditional marksman. So I think BLG going towards the funnel strategy, sending Minhua and Mole into the bot lane as a mage combination, that's what has been the best showing for them so far. So after Rift Rivals, after 8.13, and seeing how the LCK teams run it, I do expect them to hop on that hype train.
The hope is that Jin Zhao will have had a chance to have practiced those mages and improved his performance a little bit more, especially against Chocho, who already seems to be very comfortable on those mage-style picks in the bottom lane. Quick update for you folks, that was a confirmed misclick. That being said, we do now have the first 2 picks locked in, so that is Zoe and Morgana so far. So we're going to go ahead and remake that champ select as quick as we can and get everybody back into this. But there is a lot of focus on how these bottom lanes are going to set up and scale going into the late game, considering how teams are playing around this funnel versus AD carry style meta. And right now, both of these teams haven't really seemed to have fully made up their mind to commit one way or the other. It seems as though they're trying to juggle both strategies.
Yeah, definitely. For TOP, you know, the mage strategy has been their mainstay. They haven't really touched an AD carry in the past 5 games so far. And I think now is a good time to really touch on what's the difference between the mages and really the marksmen. Well, mages in the first 30 minutes of the game, I think, are strictly just better than marksmen.
Stronger, yeah.
They have more utility, they do more damage with their early item spikes. And if you think about when the ADCs are better, that's post 30 minutes, that's only 150 seconds of game time in the LPL. So it really isn't much time at all. So,
and again, that's comparing against the average game time, the difference between those 2 power spikes.
The main thing that we've taken away from week 2 and week 3 really has been the lower teams in the LPL. They should just straight up ditch marksmen. They should go on the mages. It has been far more successful. If you're anyone outside of the Gang of 4, which is Uzi, SMLZ, iBoy, and Jackie Love, then you're actually just statistically much better playing a mage or playing a bruiser.
And we've seen those stats heavily affect how these teams are picking. Of course, we've got teams like Snake that are willing to abandon, well, I say abandon marksman completely. SOFM has been playing marksman in the jungle, along with Jace and a whole bunch of other things. So again, we'll see how the meta continues to unfold, because still we've got that Aatrox ban, we've got the Zoe, and we know that the next pick is going to be a Morgana. BLG will get some flexibility with their second pick on that blue side. We'll see if they go back towards it, as in fact they decide to change it up. It's Pyke now locked in for BLG.
I wonder who was the misclick then. So it might be the Pyke that was
Nautilus,
and it might actually have been the Pyke instead of the Xerath being the misclick. But we do see a very, very strong kill lane into the bot side here. Double layer CC coming out from the Phantom Undertow, and of course the Dark Binding as well. And TOP, they're going to swap back to the more traditional Lucian AD carry. Now, this is something that they haven't really been successful on. Only 1 win in 6 tries for Chocho in the bot lane. But if you can play a fast tempo bruiser type of composition, then I actually think Lucian can slot in. He's very different from the traditional crit type of marksman.
It provides a lot of utility for Chocho to look for some outplays. If he ever finds himself getting caught, that could be an opening. Of course, like every squishy AD carry, you need somebody to stand in front of them. Why not lock yourself up a Gragas? Big old meat shield to soak those hits up. Of course, he has also been seeing some recent strength gains with the increased attack range on his, I believe, the Keg Smash.
Yeah, definitely. Gragas has been one of those resurgent champions in 8.13. Mainly because of his flexibility. He can be played in 3 positions. We've seen Keen take him into the top lane. Jungle has always existed for the LPL. And of course, Cat plays him as a support as well. So there's still a lot of uncertainty as to where that pick can go into.
That said, though, BLG, it seems as though they're all inning on what looks to be a pick composition. The Morgana, Skarner, Pyke, as Skarner is locked in for them when we get into this next round of bans. If BLG managed to get a snowball, it is so easy to find and hunt for picks. You've got Dark Bindings out of brushes. You've got Pyke landing Bone Skewers. You've got Skarner with the Predator Impale.
I was actually really surprised that they picked up the jungler right now. I would have preferred a top lane pick right here, because you're basically saying that you're not going for the funnel at this point. You could have drawn out more bans from the Xayah Rakan, which is something that BLG has ran in the past, but they're kind of giving up their hand a little bit just to secure the Skarner pick, which has been very important for Chieftain, but I do see it as a draft weakness.
Perhaps it could be a more comfort-oriented style out of BLG, as they need to make some wins start to happen for their team. Again, they are 1-5. This was a team that went to the finals in the Demacia Cup only to drop to Royal Never Give Up. So they are looking for revenge against TOP and trying to claim this win, as they will ban away 2 supports for Cat, 1 for safety, and of course 1 for pick with that Fiddlesticks on the far side. We'll see what BLG decides to save that counter pick for, if they give it to Mole in the mid lane or save it for Amazing J, as Yasuo is now banned away. BLG get themselves 1 next pick before TOP will have to show their full lineup.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting in terms of the ban picks. They're actually taking away talent, which we've never seen for on Mole. A lot of scouting coming out to make sure that this first pick from Korn is actually going to work out. And still, Mole does find himself the counter pick in terms of the LeBlanc. So this looks kind of hesitant. Usually this means that your first pick, Zoe, probably isn't as worthwhile as you really made it to seem, since you still have to sink so many resources into banning away stuff. But taking away the Mundo, I think, is a great play here. Mundo is a champion that works very well against poke compositions right here, and has been the winningest champion that Amazing J has played.
Yeah, now Lies gets the chance to take that against Amazing J. That will mean that AJ gets counter pick on this next pickup. But we're starting to get a bit closer, as Cat could be looking for support unless he wants to take that Gragas. There is that flexibility, as Camille is being hovered and is locked in. Can't believe Camille made it all the way this far down into the draft without being looked at from either team. But just like that, TOP has got their roster all set up, as Gangplank is the answer from Amazing J.
Yep, so Amazing J going to play himself something safe, and we're going to see Jin Zhao have another try at playing a non-marksman bot lane. He hasn't had success so far, but you know, you can always learn new things up here. TOP on the other side, going for their bread and butter composition so far, and it has been the rise of XX and their mid laner combination. Both of them have been career splits so far, getting ahead early, which is something we've never seen from this combination.
Certainly could provide a lot of opportunities for TOP if they have the ability to push through those winning lanes and run that momentum forward. Because we've seen BLG dropping a lot of their early games in their most recent match against LGD. That early game has been a struggle for them, but hopefully this LeBlanc can help get them through the pressure of a Lucian Zoe Mundo, as the Morgana Pike bottom lane coming out of BLG could provide a lot of kill threat going the other way.
Yeah, but early on, I do have to say, with how well XX has been doing, he should be able to run the early game. Zoe plus Camille level 2 is the premier kill lane of the LPL. It almost always gets a flash, always gets someone to bring a cleanse into the fight. So very strong combination. If they can snowball that into the other lanes, they should be able to stifle out BLG. If I'm BLG on the flip side, I am looking more for the level 6, where I'm going to have the Cannon Barrage, where I'm going to have the Impale to make more long-range picks.
Lots of setup from BLG. If they're ever able to run down TOP on the open ground, using that Cannon Barrage, using the Skarner to catch people out, that could be quite a scary situation. The question is, though, will TOP be able to play around that and recognize the threat of that composition should it ever get to that point in the game? Because there are a lot of squishy people who don't have great escapes on the TOP side.
Yeah, but I do have to say, overall, in terms of the tankiness, you still look at TOP's roster to come out ahead. They've got the Mundo, the Camille, and the Gragas. So there's definitely a lot of members that can actually take hits on their side of the team. While on BLG's side, I actually think they're running it's a much harder ship to run. They really have to look for that level 6 spike to get things going.
That said, though, we finally resumed the best region in the world. The LPL is finally back with Week 4, and now we've loaded onto the Rift for BLG versus TOP. And you can see the fans in the crowd are ready to cheer on their team as always. But XX, he's actually managed to get behind Amazing J here.
He's gonna get
found
a flash
Chieftain,
here.
that's the hook shot. Manages to tag him, they've got good damage. He's flashing over the wall. They get damage with the Ignite, but he's under the turret as a briefcase only sends Mole back to his turret.
Yep, a little bit unfortunate right there, the Sleepy Trouble bubble. Not able to get on to amplify another ability, and Chieftain able to slink away, taking the flash from XX. Not as bad as it could have been.
And now this invade is working out for TOP as they are taking the red buff away from Chieftain. He used his flash, he's at low health without the chance to recall, and that red buff is denied. Will TOP defend their own red buff and try to keep Chieftain down, or are they just going to try to look for some vertical jungling instead?
Ooh, this is really difficult for Chieftain because Camille always has the opportunity to then swing into the other side. Very strong with Zoe combination, and there is no cleanse on Mole either. So, you know, there is a very good chance that they could try to swing this matchup in the other side of the jungle and deny that vertical jungle from happening. And that's why I think you're seeing roam earlier than he usually does, just to secure that vision. Make sure that XX is not going to try to deny that vertical.
It looks like he just tried to clear out a ward for BLG, or sorry, for TOP, which seems to have been successful. So right now, Chieftain is out of vision. He's still such low health, and look at that. Even Korn is ducking down to that red buff. XX is very close to full health and now going to be starting off that red buff. Chieftain, he's having a real tough time after that as Road trades some hits with Cat.
Have a lot of damage coming out from this lane. Once the Pyke hits the level 3 with the Ignite, it's actually very easy to insta-kill a champion, especially when you have the Dark Binding to follow up the CC as well. So that's the big spike we really have to look for, but XX is already on his way to really buff up this section of the map.
That's the hook shot. XX is there. He's ready to Ignite. Road dashes back, but the double auto with the Ignite tick is able to get it. First blood to TOP's bottom lane.
Yep, an unfortunate right there. BLG fails to read the aggression coming out from Cat. They thought that was a weird move by him, but he already had someone on the way there. And XX, with that move, he not only denies the vertical jungle, he also sets up his lane for success against the kill lane from BLG. So things are going really, really bad to start.
They certainly are. TOP seems like they did the prep on their opponents using a similar strategy that we saw LGD use in their victory against BLG by focusing down Chieftain and preventing him from helping Mole. That level 6 from Skarner is quite delayed at this point, and the question is now, will Korn be able to capitalize on that slightly isolated LeBlanc, or will Chieftain be able to get level 6 in time and catch up and support his mid laner on that LeBlanc? That said, though, we've already seen some defensive wards. Cat with the early roam, just denying vision, making this entire map unsafe for BLG, and just keeping them on their own side of the rift.
Yeah, I really like how Cat was able to read the map there and figure out where Mole most likely had dropped his wards, canceling that out immediately and denying the potential for Mole to find a pick when he moves in, when Korn moves towards his blue buff further down the line. So, you know, a lot of smart play coming out early, and I just want to re-emphasize how important that early game was for TOP in setting up a winning condition. You deny the level 3 all-in from BLG, and you also deny Chieftain the chance to equalize on farm. So, even though it might not show so far on the gold chart, TOP are massively ahead.
Still only about 300 for now as bottom lane looks to be going even. Mole steps up. Sleepy Trouble Bubble misses, but the ethereal chains do not. As Korn and Mole are just trading those attacks back and forth, but we'll see how these lanes continue to snowball for the time being as Chieftain finally with his recall is able to step up and starts looking for an invade, just trying to find an opening. But XX, he's supporting his mid laner. He's looking for the invade into BLG's jungle to deny even more. And might have an opportunity as he finds the Scuttle Crab respawn and Amazing J up top.
That's a good move coming out from Chieftain here, able to find the single camp on TOP's side that still wasn't taken by XX. He has to risk it right here, but does find it.
That's the exhaust. Mole gets caught. He is level 6, though. Needs to get that second distortion back up as Chieftain joins in. Korn flashes, looks for the auto, and finds the kill along with XX. Chieftain looks for revenge, but remember, he's got no flash. He's got to walk it back. The hook shot under the turret. XX!
Will he fall?
Oh, survives. The triumph keeps him topped up. 3-0 TOP.
And that's what we were talking about the premier jungle mid synergy from Camille and Zoe. There is no other combination that actually beats this early on. So, yeah, I have to say, I think the drafting was a little bit weird from the BLG side, prioritizing the Skarner so heavily when Camille was still up. That means you were always going to have a weak 2v2 fight, and just opting into this over again.
XX with the engage.
just spelling doom here for the 2v2. Mole going in, even knowing that Camille was most likely on the top side of the map as well. And just look at Korn, he's already level 6, does a ton of damage. Chieftain has been under-leveled this entire time. It's just, I don't know how BLG is going to come back.
Yeah.
Like, I think LeBlanc's going to have a massively hard time in this match. I don't really see her having the effect she wants. The kill lane has been neutered as well. How are BLG even going to get picked?
I mean, we've even seen players like OMG with a similar style composition running that massive carry LeBlanc in the mid lane for Icon. The moment that assassin starts to slow down a little bit, can't find solo kills on squishy targets, it becomes so very difficult to turn that game around. But XX, he's trying to bait out Road here. He's level 6. Jin Zhao steps up. That's the Black Shield. Dark Binding lands. XX decides not to go in, but he is spotted on that side of the map, and still TOP are controlling the pace of this game.
Yep, and XX has complete control over the jungle sides as well. As long as he places ward close to the blue, he should be able to keep tabs on wherever Chieftain is going.
Oh, but that's Chieftain at level 6. Cleanse has been picked up. He uses it early as the Impale is still on cooldown. Korn backs it up, but that's Cannon Barrage. Finally, BLG get a kill on the board.
Yeah, we can see question marks actually coming up from BLG's side. They were asking, wait a minute, didn't Korn see that? A bit of a misplay there from Korn. He should have spotted out the Skarner pretty early, and I do believe that he did not actually cleanse the second chain coming out from Mole either. So could have played that a lot better.
Chieftain, you're exactly right. He's still got that Impale. Now this could be an opportunity for Chieftain to try to follow up. And Clement, you were just saying, I don't see how BLG get back into the game. Well, that's one opportunity. And with that Impale back up and now blue buff passed over to Mole, they could be looking for some side lane threat, or perhaps even just run it back to Korn in that mid lane once again.
Yep, Korn only his second game so far in the summer split, like showing a little bit of a vision problems here. He has been known for being a player with kind of a poor vision in terms of the spring split as well. We see him react kind of slow to ganks at times, and I think that was just another case of that. It really should not have been picked off by the Skarner.
Yeah, and again, Korn, such a legacy player, going to Worlds alongside Uzi, and now he finds himself on TOP, a team that last split only had 3 match wins, and he's fighting against Goong, who just took our best of the Rift for week 3. So with that sort of pressure riding on Korn's back, he's hoping for a strong performance in this game to prove that he deserves the stage time. But right now he's 1-1-1 against Mole, against that LeBlanc, and will need to continue to prove his dominance over Goong if he wants to try to get more play. But that said, BLG trying to put him down.
And it's so surprising that we're not seeing Goong continue to play. Sure, Korn had a great Yasuo game, but you're talking about Goong, who had the most solo kills in week 3 for a mid laner. Like, this guy has been popping off on Zoe, on champions that we don't normally associate with Goong, and I'm actually kind of surprised that they're bringing in Korn for another try. I think he must have picked up a couple more champions, because that was kind of his big weakness coming in as spring, known as only the Galio and the Karma player.
And classically, the Fizz. But I feel like we're probably not going to see too much of that just yet, as Mole steps up and eats a big hit, but blue buff on both and Corrupting Potion with 2 full charges for Mole should get him back to full health. But that does mean we've got a roam now going towards the bottom half of the map. Mole has disappeared from vision along with Chieftain, still sitting on that Impale. Hasn't used it yet. Could be waiting for Flash. And now Road shows himself back down into that bottom lane. So looks like the early laning phase has roughly equalized. It's 500 gold separating the two teams, and the biggest difference is a level advantage for XX off of that early kill he picked up.
Yep, and good warding from Cat there, just dodging out on the 4v2 into the bot lane coming out from BLG completely. We could see Road already pinging the River Brush right there, telling his teammates that, hey, you really can't come down here. This gank is not going to succeed.
Oh, Cat and Road trading blows. Keg versus Bone Dagger. But Road is just going to hop over the wall as Korn steps up. That's the Ethereal Chains and Ignite traded over. Again, that Zoe just gets so much potential. And look at that. Mole wants to skirmish and ends up taking a poor trade, and suddenly this wave pushed in. All the momentum swings right back.
And it's just so hard to trade against a Zoe that has Redemption, because she clears out the wave and heals herself in one go at the same time. But Lies is looking in danger.
That's the Predator. Chieftain is going to step forward, flash over the fat part of the wall. In tense situations, he finds the perfect spot and escapes with his life. TOP take advantage of that and collapse onto the Dragon.
Yeah, Lies showing some good mechanics right there. That's not an easy wall to flash at all, and he managed to pull it off before Chieftain could even touch his Impale. So good move right there, and forces another TP coming out from Amazing J.
Just like that, TOP are able to maintain that momentum, even if it is a reaction to BLG's attempted gank in the top lane. And now TOP have got a bit more opportunity to pick and choose how they want to run this advantage back against BLG. Is it going to be XX looking for ganks? Will we start to see some pressure towards the Rift Herald instead as Chocho and Cat make their way back down into that bottom lane?
It's just so interesting to see Lies actually taking the position over Marin right here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Marin actually has the highest win rate between these two, but they play drastically different champions. Lies is more of your team fight guy, while the Marin is your split push answer right here. And to be honest, I feel like Lies has been earning his spot so far. He's definitely been showing that he's worth his salt. He's been playing quite well on champions like the Darius, tanky champions, tanky bruisers, juggernauts into the top lane.
Mm-hmm. And that's opened up a lot more flexibility for TOP in the compositions that they can build. Of course, those Jaxes, Dariuses, and Singeds doing quite a lot in terms of a front line. That allows Chocho and Korn to step up in terms of damage dealers, and Goong as well has certainly thrived from that sort of play. But XX, he's thinking about hopping in here, sitting just outside of vision. But Mole doesn't take the bait this time. Remembers what happened last time he tried to trade with that Zoe. And still, nice, calm, patient game between the two teams as they're just jockeying for position on the map. Again, that Dragon was taken earlier, so no massive incentive to stay on the bottom side unless they want to try to break down a turret or just extend the laning phase.
Yep. I think TOP should be running the mid and the bot side of the map so far.
I think Chieftain just got that.
Wow.
Ooh, hate to see that happen. And Mole is actually running on really low mana right now. This could be a bit of a problem.
That's really unfortunate. He's going to take so much tower damage in this mid lane so far, and for TOP it's really about when these towers start to fall. They do have the item edge, they do have the CS advantages overall to really push these advantages, and I think it's just a problem when they group and decide to really cash in.
Yeah, and look at that. Mole has to recall because he's got no mana. Immediately XX just shows up to push into the mid lane. Chieftain tries to hold it, but this could very well be first brick. Or it could not. They don't quite have enough minions. TOP instead just decide to play it safe and push in the wave otherwise as Lies keeps Amazing J occupied up top.
Huh. Interesting timing on Lies here as they actually popped the sadism. He just saw the game plan go back home, but still wanted to top off right here.
Perhaps looking to push one more wave as Chieftain is now making his way towards the top half of the map. Has been spotted. We've got a recall from Korn. So he doesn't quite have the ability to help, so Lies knows that this top lane isn't terribly safe. BLG could be looking to fight the blue or even the Rift Herald.
Yep, they will have a numbers advantage so far in the top lane, but aren't going to push it because of the top wave. Being shoved into tower right here.
Bone Skewer misses, that's the Blade of the Ruined King. Road steps up, but that's a culling for some good damage. Chocho cancels it early and decides to walk away.
It's really rare to see this lane actually having the shove advantage over the Morgana.
Yeah.
Usually when the Morgana is played in the bot lane, you do see the W max, just constant shove into a kill lane potential.
And interestingly enough, BLG seem to have a bit of the roam advantage now as they're catching timings. Chieftain and Mole are finding windows to push out that mid lane, step in and place a ward behind the blue buff of TOP. They saw Zoe walk over and pick up that blue.
Yeah, I have to say, Chieftain has taken a lot of risks just walking into the jungle like that.
Ooh, that's the cast.
Get the stun.
Actually gets him there, and the Ignite. Spell Shield wears off, but Jin Zhao still has Flash and walks it off.
Yeah, really calm play coming out from Jin Zhao here. Doesn't get him to burn the Flash. I think Cat initially wanted the pushback onto the Morgana, but didn't really get it.
But still, as we said, Chieftain and Mole trying to find windows to roam around the map and take control. They don't find an opportunity to go top, and that means Rift Herald goes down to TOP. As Jin Zhao did have to complete his recall bottom, wasn't able to use that teleport to help his team if there were going to be a fight at that Rift Herald. So TOP, they're just playing it slow, they're playing it smart.
Yep. To be honest, this would be one of the rare situations where I would drop the Herald into the bot lane. If you can free Lucian, there actually isn't that much wave clear coming out from the other positions of BLG. So I'm wondering if he will actually do that play, try to look for a gank into the bot lane, and then just push down the bot tower, allow your sieging unit to start roaming on the map.
Still no turret has fallen yet. And we do have that Rift Herald for about 4 minutes as Lies is just hugging his turret. Not sure if he saw that Skarner there earlier. Actually, I believe he did as he stepped in and cleared out the Scryer's Bloom. But still such a safe laning phase. And despite that early pressure that TOP managed to put out, they haven't really done too much with it outside of take the Dragon, take the Rift Herald, and just play the slow laning phase off the back of that. And now that does mean that BLG has been able to open up a gold advantage. They're about 1,000 gold ahead, despite being down in kills, despite being down in those neutral objectives.
And it really has been mainly just on Amazing J, running the Kleptomancy top. A 3v1 coming in against Lies with no sadism anymore.
Yeah, that's the, Smite, as they're just trying to get the damage. Impale, and a quick Ethereal Chains. Easy kill, easy life for BLG.
Ooh, but is it going to be worth it? They're probably going to lose 2 towers at this rate.
Rift Herald charge. No Dark Binding can stop Chelly. Nothing can stop that Rift Herald as she charges down and break the turret. Meanwhile, TOP also pushing bottom. So yes, that's a kill for BLG, and they get a turret. But this is 2 turrets in answer for TOP. Could still work out in their favor as Lies is about to have teleport in 10 seconds if they were willing to skirmish over that dragon.
And actually, that was a really bad rotation from Jinja and Road. They could have defended the bot tower, but there was no reason to go mid because they wouldn't defend that anyway. So
XX is getting low, but that's not the target. Jin Zhao is the target. He drops the stopwatch. Soul Shackles goes down. XX dodges death from below, and he's able to find that first kill. They follow it up and trade. XX goes down, but Amazing J is doing damage with Road. Here comes Mole. He gets damage, but not enough flashes. Ethereal Chains locks it down as it's Chaos. Lies joins the fight, but he's on the backside. Another stopwatch. Korn tries to leap away, but the damage dealers are gone. It's all up to Lies right now, but he flashes over the wall. He can't get enough, and BLG win the fight.
Yeah, I really don't think they should have chased up that far. A lot of perfect timings and stopwatches keeping BLG members alive. Jin Zhao actually staying there throughout the entirety of the ultimate to keep herself alive and get the second proc of damage right there. So, you know, I actually think that TOP had the better position, but the stopwatch is able to draw the entire fight out where Mole could enter in an advantageous position.
Able to find those LeBlanc assassinations, keep Korn out of the fight. 1-2-1 right now, as he did try to use that QSS to escape some of that potential damage, but like you said, it was a risky fight to take, and it worked out for BLG's favor. Again, we call them the Miracle Makers, the Hail Mary team. You can never count out BLG.
Yeah, let's just watch this again. I feel like Amazing J did so much work in this fight as well. XX is already starting to fight a little bit low. We're seeing Jin Zhao getting targeted on, but does get the triple ult and survives to get the second proc with the stun as well to take everyone fairly low, and then XX dies to the explosive barrel from Amazing J as well. So great play from Jin Zhao. We were asking, could this guy actually play non-marksman into the bot lane, and the answer seems to have been yes in this situation. Lies comes in, but really can't survive the meat grinder. Amazing J very far ahead in terms of items.
And of course, when everyone's all narrowed down into the funnel like that, it's so easy to start placing down barrels, to start getting those distortion procs for more damage. And that is now 1-0-3 on Amazing J. As you said, he's finished off his Sterix. He's got himself a BF sword. He is ready to start chunking down anyone squishy enough to take these hits. But now the map is opened up a little bit, whether Amazing J likes it or not, as Cat has to get away from that LeBlanc. We've got the duo for TOP in the top lane, the duo for BLG in the mid lane, and both top laners on the bottom side of the map.
That was one bone skewer and Cat would have been off the map.
Oh yeah.
Very dangerous situation right there. I actually feel like TOP in the previous fight, they had the better positioning. They already taken down 2 towers compared to the one into the top lane, but unfortunate fight happening right there. Amazing J coming in with a lot of items advantages, and just great play from Jin Zhao on the perfect timing, allowing them to out-execute TOP and take the advantage on the map. Now 3K ahead.
That does give them a handful of kills. Doesn't quite give them a lot of turrets, though. And Clement, last time I checked, the way you win the game is destroy the enemy's Nexus. So eventually BLG, if they want to continue trying to take fights like that, as you look at the massive gold difference for Amazing J, 2,300 gold ahead. Another 700 for Chieftain, and then another 5 for Mole. Whereas in the bottom lane, it's actually a 1,300 gold lead for Chocho.
Yeah, we haven't seen the Pirate come out from Amazing J for a long time, but it was his most played so far in the spring split. Hasn't found success on the Conqueror champions of Darius and the Aatrox, so going back to something a little bit more comfort and finding massive success on it.
Yeah.
This is a very low-range composition coming out from TOP, so a lot of chances for them to actually get barrels, and if BLG ever get a sizable enough map advantage, then you could always set up with the game flank.
Yeah, it seems like that's what we're seeing right now, is they've set up in that mid lane. They've got plenty of vision now around all of the entrances to Baron, making it very scary for Cat to step forward. He's got double control ward and his sweeper is on cooldown. So this whole side of the jungle is one big old ball of threat from BLG. If he ever gets caught by that bone skewer that you mentioned, there's a lot of crowd control potential for BLG to lock him down and get that kill. But for the time being, it's just stalling out.
Yeah, such a dangerous tempo composition from BLG. There's a lot of brushes they can hide into, and if you look at what TOP are doing right now, they really barely are inching into this Baron side. They know that the LeBlanc could still be hiding out there, and they don't really want to check without Lies being the person to go in.
It looks like they're trying to hunt down Amazing J. XX is on this side of the map along with Korn. He's trying to start that recall. Doesn't have teleport. Sets up the barrel. Gets good damage onto XX, who tries to hook shot away. That's going to be a lot traded back, and Amazing J actually gets a kill there as it's passed back over to Korn, but Mole is working on a tier 2 on the other side.
Just too much damage with the passive coming out from Gameplank, able to take down XX through the shielding. The shielding does not prevent true damage at all. So, you know, Amazing J able to equalize that play and even get his team a tower.
Now that does mean Lies is able to push the tier 2 on that other side, and there is no cannon barrage for a little bit from Amazing J. So the map will open up a little bit more for TOP, but it seems like that's just peanuts compared to how BLG are starting to pull apart TOP, reacting to that play down on that bottom side of the map.
Yep, as long as BLG can hold their position around Baron, I don't think TOP ever face checks. It's just too difficult. It's an Impale waiting for you.
Scary, yeah.
Yeah, I question if Mundo could even survive that.
I mean, he does have the Spirit Visage and Sunfire. Looks to be going Thornmail next, but needs to start looking towards that Warmogs as well if he wants to start stacking up even more. Now, Cloud Dragon is up in 50 seconds. Baron has been up for quite a while, but neither team has had the opportunity to take it as we now make our way back out onto the map with some fresh item buys. Still only one item completed for Chocho, whereas Jin Zhao looks like he's got that Zanya's Hourglass at 2 items himself.
Now we see the favorite trio of items coming out from the Gameplank with the Storm Raiders ready as well. That does give you the 60% crit on your barrels, so very easy to actually snipe out the backline of Chocho and Korn on TOP.
And that means that if he's able to find someone, he can do a lot of work. But this is a slow game from BLG. This is a style that it seems like could give them success. We were criticizing BLG about how they had difficulty finding one style and sticking to it. They couldn't really go with the funnel. They couldn't really go with the marksman. Now Jin Zhao is on Morgana of all champions, a mage, someone who we criticized him on. And they're just playing it nice and slow. They found momentum off of Amazing J scaling. They found a little bit of momentum off of Mole's teamfight ability. Yep. Will that be enough to help them carry out and close this Game 1 victory against TOP, who are just running these neutral objectives?
I think it's going to take a while for the Mundo to be really successful and be willing to walk into 5 people, and that's where we're going to see TOP really start to contest things. But for now, I don't think Lies is feeling confident about where he is on the map so far. Ooh.
That's the barrel.
Yep, that's a triple barrel with Storm Razors, down to half health already.
And already you can see how dangerous that is. He's got the QSS, but that's going to do nothing against the physical damage of that barrel. Even with Blade of the Ruined King, he needs minions to farm off of. With Lucian gone, they engage. XX tries to back away. Sigil of Malice and Flash out of the cannon barrage, but they do manage to catch up to Cat. He is pulled in and ends up being put down. Now the tier 2 is traded on the far side, but BLG are far from done, pushing up to their own tier 2.
Yep, and we do see the wave clear, not enough from Chocho to really dissuade them from taking a second tower. So that's 2 in a row for BLG. I would say even though TOP did funnel a bit of gold onto the Mundo, make sure that Lies is able to stand up and be that shield icebreaker for them to walk into the Baron pit. I think BLG still got the better trade right there, able to accelerate the game a lot faster.
Now, Lies has teleport, and he's actually going to finish off this turret. Teleports away. That's the barrel. Dark binding. The wave is clear, and it catches him so close, but Jin Zhao gets there in time. And tanky though the Mundo is, sadism and stopwatch used, he will eventually go down. The Road has actually got to back away from this Lies. No way he's going to get that kill. Meanwhile, they did find a kill on the Mole on that backside as Road finally gets the Bone Skewer, and BLG find themselves a kill, but Mole is dead.
Yeah, surprisingly, in the top side, we did see, again, the Camille Zoe combination making short work of Mole. Probably a little bit out of position. He did have 3 members trying to take down the Mundo on the bot side. No reason to really be that far up at all.
Now that's top tier 1. Still 5 turrets to 4 and an open inhibitor for BLG. As we take a look at what exactly happened, XX must have just walked up and found the Hextech ultimatum.
Yep.
Ooh, and hit the hook shot.
Too.
Attempt at the outplay, but again, that decoy walking out of the ultimatum kind of gives it away.
That was a bit of a... That's the moment you know that, yeah, it probably not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. At least he did hold on to that flash, so he could look for an outplay a little later on. But now we're 28 minutes into the game. We've got a mountain on both sides, and the next dragon being another cloud. So we could be seeing a look at that Baron sometime soon, as now Amazing J has picked up his grievous wounds. The Executioner's Calling and Gargoyle Stoneplate is finished off for Lies.
Yep, we have seen this item being picked up by Khan as well in the LCK. It's a great item if you're just going to walk into the fray against like a Skarner or a Jin Zhao and Road, in that type of scenario.
Just get real big.
Yeah.
Especially if he goes for the Warmogs next and then the Thornmail. Because even if you do try to kill him, then you start taking damage off the back.
Yeah, I really do like the Stoneplate over the Warmonks because he understands what his role is this game, and his role is to face check. He wants to walk into the brush and allow his team access to Baron. So getting something that's anti-burst is probably more important than the sustain that Warmonks will provide.
Now this is a bit tricksy. Chieftain going to start off the Baron. Amazing J is there to help him out. Look at that. Lies is on the bottom side with no teleport. They see him down there. They know he used it in XX. Thinks that Amazing J is going to be down there to match that Mundo, but BLG just read TOP like a book. Turn over. It's way too late to react now, TOP. Baron picked up by Bilibili Gaming.
And that was just way too easy. The Mundo definitely could have contested if they were in position, but they were going for a riskier play. They were hoping that someone would need to defend an inhibitor, and XX would be able to make a pick right there. I have to say that play is it's just not worth it most of the time.
Absolutely not. As we can so clearly see, Baron has picked up an award over the wall that they are standing on top of. TOP, I mean, they're trying to open up the map with some cheesy plays now, but BLG seem to have found their momentum. They are not falling for any of these tricks.
Yep, and it's going to be so hard to actually push up against the Gangplank now. With his explosive barrels and his buffed up minions, I think Lies is going to find trouble splitting up the map from now on, and BLG, they should be looking for those picks that their composition is so good at.
They've got the opportunity now with that Baron buff, able to set up a lot of waves and start trying to push down the map. As there are pings towards that mid lane as Amazing J finally breaks down the bottom tier 1. Even Chieftain is down here just in case anyone wanted to try and stop him, which at this point he's level 18, 30 minutes into the game with 4 full items. Who on earth can stop him, if anyone?
Yeah, this Gangplank has been having a very good time. He probably does have triple on the Cannon Barrage as well. Road Ori going in.
The wave is largely cleared out though, as that cannon minion starts doing some damage. There's another barrel, but doesn't get the triple. As the wave is just slowly being chipped down. That's the Bone Skewer as Cat is forced to back away. Lies, as you said, stepping forward, knows he's got to tank hits for his team, but here comes the second cannon minion, with BLG firing shots over the wall and Mole split pushing in the mid lane. TOP have to cede ground. They give up their bottom tier 2. Now they're just down to the inhibs.
Yep, and you can see LeBlanc also split pushing. Mole in the mid side, probably already has that tower down to half, actually more than half. TOP are forced to engage right now or give something up.
And they give up the middle inhibitor turret. Corn steps forward. Amazing J eats a lot of damage, tries to heal it up, but the inhibitor is slowly getting whittled down. Cat can do nothing against this level 17 LeBlanc.
And the Banshee Veils means that she's not going to get picked off either. There's no response coming up from TOP.
Yeah, TOP seem to be paralyzed right now. They had to choose between any one of the two things, engage bottom or force that LeBlanc away top. They chose neither, and they lose both.
Yeah, that was, they do save their bot tower, but the correct play there, if you were going to give up your mid, should have been trying for an engage onto BLG's side. Unfortunately, they didn't want to run into the Amazing J at this point. Really fed level 18, 3-1 and 4 stat line, so they just kind of sat back and took it.
And that is certainly going to hurt their chances in this series, as BLG playing it really, really slowly and just finding their opportunities against TOP.
I think XX has some words to say. You probably went triple X right there.
He's, looking real unhappy in the player cam right now.
Yeah, definitely had a spat with his teammates right there. Probably saying that they should have gone in since he was the Camille.
And this is exactly what we were talking about with the communication for TOP. Goong just took our best mid player of the Rift in week 3, and now we're bringing in Korn, and suddenly there are communication issues with the Chinese mid laner as opposed to the Korean mid laner. As that parlay, holy cow.
1,700 gold so far, so that does mean he has all three upgrades.
Yeah. Oh boy. That's a lot. And the Guardian Angel finished as well. Okay, so that gangplank means business as he teleports now to join up with his team, and Mole looks to finish off the work started by his team elsewise. Now Baron has fallen off, so this is just a regular siege, but TOP, guys, you gotta give us something.
Yep. They are giving another try at the LeBlanc, sending them Mundo against him, but that does leave a lot of low-range characters over here to try and deal with the barrels. Lucian, again, only has 500, so I don't think he's stepping up anytime soon.
Ooh. Road gets the spell shield, tries to get away from the paddle star. Chieftain actually holds it for him as Mole steps up, and Korn uses his flash, not a spell flash. Barrel for the slow, Mole steps forward, Chocho clears out the minion wave. It's all about this Lucian. Can he stay alive? Can he clear the minions?
There's just nothing that the Lucian can do. Parlay range is 625, and Lucian can't contest that at all.
XX, whoa! Oh. The Sigil of Malice pops his Guardian Angel, and how much health in the barrel on top of it? Cannon Barrage is ready. It zones him away. He flashes back out. Korn is there to escort him back as he's low health as well. The Ignite is not enough to kill him, even sitting still, even giving in to death. As it seems like that's what TOP are doing right now. They're caught in a cast because BLG forced the fight. Cat goes golden, but it's nowhere near enough. XX rejoins, Jinjiao in the front. Barrel finds one, culling across two. Chocho's actually doing a lot of damage. They didn't get these kills off the back, and Amazing J is going low. His GA is popped. Chocho is still doing work as Korn is ready to finish off this gangplank, but can he do it? AJ still gets the kill, bringing down the AD carry, but Lies is trying to deal against 3 people.
Yep, and that's the power of a late-game Mundo. BLG don't really have the sustained damage to really take him down. And Amazing J falling down early in that fight did change things into BLG's favor. Unfortunately, TOP are still going to lose their top inhibitor. I actually think that BLG played that entire sequence extremely well. They read the point about Mundo being into the bot lane. Once Mundo was matched up against LeBlanc, there was no range on TOP's side to actually wave clear safely, so they were able to step in and just take down that inhibitor for free. Good props on TOP as well for getting back into the team fight as well, though. So swatch it from Cat does get 3 people back into the side and dodge out onto the death from below, but probably not enough to save the entire front line. Chocho, however, untouched throughout this entire bout.
Just able to dish out enormous amounts of damage. That said, there's only so much you can do when that massive gangplank just chases you down. Full 6 items, 383 CS right now.
Yeah, that's a scary, scary gangplank. And at this point, I think he could sell his boots. Ooh,
oh
wait a
no,
minute.
That's the pick that we're looking for. Cat gets pulled in again. A cast actually
back.
resets it. As now Jinjiao lands a binding. They managed to finally finish off Cat, passing that gold over to Chieftain, but now they're chasing down Lies. That's the Gargoyles. Road goes golden to dodge Korn's Paddle Star, but that means that TOP get the chance to reset. That said, Baron is up in 10 seconds, and there's no support to place wards and support TOP.
Yeah, no sadism on the Mundo either, so I don't think TOP can really contest at this point. Walking in would be a death sentence for them, so they're just probably going to skirt around, throw things into the brush, see if they pick anyone off.
Ooh, the bone skewer over the wall. Mole steps up. Chocho gets chunks. They've managed to tag on the Mundo. Like you said, no sadism, no gargoyles. He flashes away, but he's slowed so much and gets pulled in. Ethereal chains, and he finally goes down. XX even tries to leap forward to save the Mundo. But even with the Hextech ultimatum, his own ultimatum is met. He dies as TOP are forced to retreat back to base.
That was a weird sequence coming out from TOP because they did have the trinket going in for Chocho.
The auto attack. Chocho survives, but only barely. He tries to heal back up, but his chances are looking slim. Gorn goes down. Teleport now going to be coming in from Jin Zhao to join his team as the Super Minions are pushing on to the Nexus turrets, and BLG finding kill after kill in this chaotic late game.
And this should be game one going over to BLG. There's still 3 members down for TOP.
Yeah, they chase onto the Nexus. A barrel finds Road, but it's not enough. They break it down, and BLG take game 1.
Yeah, it was a disastrous early game coming out from BLG, but the tenacity from Chieftain to go into the enemy jungle, even when he was under level, just to make sure that there was vision being set up there, really changed the early game, really stabilized things for BLG. And then in the later game, Amazing J was able to come up big, going back to the champion that was most played for him on Spring, into the gangplank, and carrying from the top side of the map.
Through that carry, BLG survive. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. I mean, it's the BLG classic.
Yeah, and it did give us a lot of answers on how Jin Zhao is going to play in the meta. Didn't do so well on the Swain or the Vladimir, but has found success on the Morgana here today, making sure that they can play a kill lane and have something else rather than the Xayah and the Kai'Sa.
And with that, BLG are able to snowball over TOP and finally close out the game despite that early advantage we saw TOP take. And TOP, suddenly they might find themselves scrambling after that game 1. It seems like they had everything going for them. 3 kills to 1, they put the Skarner down, they knew they could get through that level 6 laning phase just fine. But then it seemed so slow, so stalled. They focused on the neutral objectives, and it ended up hurting them.
And we could just see where the tables really turned. It was at that 14-minute dragon fight, where TOP came out fairly far behind with a good stopwatch from Jin Zhao, winning then the fight, the double proc on that ultimate. You basically can't lose a 5v5 if you get both procs on the Morgana right there. So good fighting from BLG and good champion picks, good answers on the meta to help them come back and instill some confidence in the squad.
And it's absolutely something much needed for the BLG roster. That said, it's time for our analyst to break down that game 1.
Game was won, blah, 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 blah.
Me too, thanks.
Yes, game 1 was a victory going over to BLG, but it wasn't one that was decided right away because from the start of the match, TOP had control for most of their lanes.
Yeah, they did. TOP actually played surprisingly well through the early game, and a lot of this for me actually starts through the draft, because the one thing that I noticed was for BLG's drafting, they had a gangplank into the top side matchup that should go even. He even built Kleptomancy, so he's going to have a pretty good time for himself. Grasp usually if you want to have more control. When you look at mid lane, it's a LeBlanc into a Zoe that, whilst it doesn't hard win all the time, can hard win all the time. My one quarrel with BLG was the Skarner, and I'm not too sure why it was there at all, let alone why it was prioritized so highly. I do think that other champions fit the bill just that little bit more, but there was also a lot of jungle bans thrown around, not at them, but by them to their opponents. So it seems like it was a takeaway from their opponents at the same time as picking for themselves because it's comfort. And then you look towards bottom lane, Pyke and Morgana. Slow to start, strong to finish is the type of lane that it has. And ultimately, when you put all that together for BLG, they have a good early game. So it's really upsetting to watch them lose the early game to TOP so comprehensively, but that was through the draft of TOP. The very strong mid-jungle duo that they had did a lot of work and was very effective, but there's still a problem, Fish.
What's the problem?
Korn's playing. And it's not Goong who can carry on that Zoe when he gets the lead. Korn makes the same mistakes that he always does, and suddenly BLG find a way back in.
I mean, we saw TOP control most of the early game, like you're talking about, even though BLG's draft would kind of show that they should be the ones trying to take control there. It took a fight around Blue Buff and the Dragon Pit for BLG to actually get a firm foot into this match itself.
Yeah, around this Dragon, again, a bit of a disconnect it felt like from the TOP 5v5, and well executed from BLG's side, more importantly. Jin Zhao, whilst he does die, survives for such a long time and hits the binding on the backside. Amazing J hitting the keg there. So the AD carry, the damage dealer of TOP, is rendered useless and then sacrificed by Mol on the backside of this. And then Korn, as a Zoe, when you're losing a fight, that's the worst situation to be a Zoe in. There is nothing you can do. You can't ult yourself to safety. You have to come back. So they are able to prey upon them, BLG. And that was that one step too far from top that actually turned everything around. They get a kill. They trade up. They're feeling okay for themselves. You know, things could be great. And then they try and take a fight after they get the upward trade and then lose too much.
I mean, even though it was a trade that went in favor of BLG there, that was their foot into the match. And from then on out, it was BLG just controlling the tempo of the game itself. TOP had a couple of fights where they were able to pull back once again, get a bit of a decrease the goal lead that BLG had for themselves and try to stay into the match. But as the game got later and later, Gangplank was approaching 6 items, got 6 items nice and early, and then Amazing J's champion was unlocked and online.
Yeah, 220 CS at 20 minutes. Amazing J definitely deserving of that victory with how he played on the Gangplank. Stormrazor being an addition to his item build means Gangplank at 3 items is obnoxious because you can hardly deal with him when it's guaranteed to crit. What is a carry going to do? What is a Lucian going to do when you speak about carry, such a short-range champion against the Gangplank that was unlocked from his lane? And there was merit in what TOP were doing. I will say that. There were some positives that they should be able to take away from this, but BLG just held them, handled them, and outscaled on them through their top laner specifically.
Yeah, BLG able to play them one quite well, and like you mentioned, that TOP had some things that looked good for them. This is the first time we've really seen them use the full Chinese roster. We expected other players to be starting. There's no Marin to be seen, no Karen to be seen either.
Yeah.
And it looked good to start the match, but didn't look so good later on, which is interesting because you'd expect the communication to be much stronger on the TOP roster with this specific roster.
Yeah, and I think there was strengths through this roster. I think that the early game vision and mid game vision from them was good, and when you look at both team compositions, vision should actually dictate who wins. And having the early snowball means that you should have better vision control, and I think where they lost it was through individual players, not through their team cohesion and communication. I think that was actually fine from them. And then once you hit late game, they were kind of just comped. When they were so far behind, they had no position to go. 1-3-1 was actively and readily available from the Bilibili roster, so they couldn't really answer it, and they were just routed, dealing with it constantly one step behind.
Yeah, nothing much they could do, especially once Amazing J was unlocked from the top lane. Moving into game number 2, however, TOP, if there was something they needed to change, because we already talked about BLG's pick of Skarner in the jungle, what would it be that TOP should try and change moving into the second match?
So I like the Camille and I like the Zoe combo. I think that was great. I personally would be looking towards the bottom lane as the thing that may want to change. Maybe completely, maybe just one aspect of it. The Lucian's decent, but the Lucian Gragas together into the Morgana was always going to have weaknesses there. And I think, firstly, you can just ban Morgana and maybe have a better time with that duo. And secondly, you could just change the Lucian into a Bruiser, maybe have something else down there. Or the Fiddlesticks instead of the Gragas. Something else that can, provide extra at range, could help win the lane, and can actually beat the Morgana.
Yeah, and hopefully be able to see that, because we saw the Fiddlesticks being banned out. We saw Morgana being picked for the side of BLG as one of the bot lane champions, which has become very strong in the current meta. But we also saw some of the old tactics come out from BLG. Amazing J picking up Gangplank at the top lane. We've harped on him playing this champion, but he did pick up MVP for that match.
And very much should be the MVP. He was the carry of the side. You saw the damage he was dealing, and you give credit to Mol for the assassination, but this is someone who's contributed half the damage first. You can notice that Jin Zhao is doing the damage, but he's still someone that will hit it home. And through this game, it was consistent. One thing Amazing J always does very well is teleport and group with his team at the correct moments, and being that Gangplank, item spiking and grouping, he did wonders for BLG.
Being the damage dealer that BLG needed in that first match, but it's the first game of a best of 3 series, so we're going to go into a quick break. We'll be back in just a bit.
我们的目标是再次突出重围，哔哩哔哩干杯！